9 o'clock, and welcome to Studio 116, home of the Wealth Warrior. Should I say the Wealth Warriors? My name is Brent Harding, and I am your host. And this is the maiden voyage, and we are so incredibly excited to be on board. It's the first time around, so give me a little leeway there. But I do want to share with you what the Wealth Warriors is about. We have an incredible guest speaker that's going to be with us this morning. I am going to ask you to send your questions, your conversations, and the like over to the Wealth Warriors website, or rather the Wealth Warriors Facebook site. And occasionally you're going to see me look over there and pick up some of your messages and then come on back. So I want to start off by sharing with you who the Wealth Warriors are, why it got started, tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'm going to bring us right on to my guest, who, as you know, is Barrett Matthews, and he's on our virtual couch. And if you had a chance to look at the feed last night, I was showing you Studio 116 or Studio 116, I'm going to call it that. I was showing that to you, and I showed you the virtual couch as well. So let me be a little bit formal. I'm going to actually read to you, but I hope that you'll understand because, again, maiden voyage. In fact, the month of January is our maiden voyage, and it has been awesome. Last week we actually did a conference call, and this week we are live on the broadcast. So let me share with you what I wanted to make you aware of. Wealth Warriors, it's a private exclusive club, if you will, Facebook site. What it is, though, it's a group of individuals. We see ourselves as wealth warriors. We're like-minded. And what the purpose is we're fighting for generational wealth. And we're fighting for our families, that they have generational wealth. And we're saying on the site it's 100,000 families that we are fighting to create generational wealth. Actually, we are looking to spur a movement. So why the number 100,000? Because we know with 100,000, that is a movement. That clearly is what we expect to see throughout the year is you getting incredible information. Last week we talked about credit because credit is such a pivotal conversation piece. In fact, credit is actually more valuable than money. Some would say more valuable than money. Yeah, you know why? Because you can never have as much money as you have credit. The more credit you have, the more access you have. So you heard that term OPM, other people's money. Well, that's what we're talking about. So credit is powerful. And then it's about controlling. Just like you control the conversation, it is about controlling your credit. So let me go on a little bit more. We're looking to initiate a paradigm shift. So the conversation we're going to be talking about money, about credit, investing. We're going to talk about business models, money models, and real estate possibilities, tools that generate wealth. Because, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know about you, but I figure that I've spent my entire professional life focusing in on wealth and focusing in on generating wealth. And so at some point you want to be there. We've had our ebbs and our flows, but at some point you want to be there. And I'm going to share with you one of my goals that carries on into this year is I said I wanted my life back financially. And what does that mean? Well, let me take a few moments, share the story, and then I want to introduce you to the man of the hour. Okay, so here it goes. You hear about those rags to riches stories? Well, I was a riches to rags story. And why do I say that? I say that because I will tell you, I had one heck of a life. In 1998, I owned a mortgage brokering firm. Young lady owns a mortgage brokering firm, and I owned that for 10 years. But you know, something interesting happened in 2008. Did anybody remember that? It's called the banking industry. In fact, we, the public, bailed out the banking industry. Do you remember that? Well, mortgage brokering firms such as mine really suffered the consequences of having, we just suffered the consequences. Many of us shut down. And I will tell you, that actually started in 2006. And in B school, we call it a curve. And that curve, it starts with a form. It goes from form to storm to norm and perform. So what does that mean? That means that every industry has a cycle. And everything starts off, and it's in the form stage. Any business, anything starts off just like we are today in the form stage. It goes through the storm, and that is when the chaos is occurring. And then it hits the norm, and then it performs. The interesting thing is, as it's performing, it's on the down cycle, and then another curve begins. And so the real estate industry, same thing. 1996 crisis, 2006, 10 years later, because it usually runs in 10-year cycles. So 2006, guess what? We have another crisis. Now, in 2006, people are buying real estate, life is going on. Me too, bought commercial property, and life was grand, thought it was going to go on forever. Did not pay attention to the bell curve. And the bell curve says no matter what, it's going to go through its curve. And I didn't pay attention to it. By 2008, the girl was in trouble. In fact, in serious trouble. Long and the short, I ended up living abroad. I actually lived in Hong Kong. Interesting experience, temporary resident. Interesting experience. I went over there on faith and $100 in my pocket because I lost everything, from the real estate to the vehicles, commercial, residential. Why? In some instances, poor decisions. In some instances, I didn't listen. I had accumulated a level of wealth, but did not know what to do with the things that I had. So as a result of that, lost it. And I said I was going to begin all over again. And this time, I'm willing to listen. This time, I'm smarter. And what I want to do is share those experiences with you. Bring people together that can give you the kind of things that you need to catapult you. For those that have already got it, guess what? Life lessons, maybe you will share that with us through the conversation. So I'm going to ask you to jump on the Facebook and start sharing the conversation with us. I want you to start off, please, by going hashtag I am a wealth warrior. Can you go to Facebook? Can you go to the Wealth Warrior site and hit it and go hashtag I am a wealth warrior? Because if you are here, that's exactly what you are. And spread the word. Invite other people to the conversation, because guess what? In order to have a movement, we need a lot of people involved. We need people that are like-minded and people that want to help other people. You know what? There's room at the top. You know, contrary to popular belief, there's room at the top. I think you're feeling me on that one. Well, I'll tell you what. I have the privilege now of bringing to the forefront, and we're going to interject. This is going to be an interview, and it's going to be a conversation. And it's going to be a conversation with Barrett Matthews. And actually, I'm going to bring him to the front, and I'm going to share a little bit about him with you. Hey there, Barrett. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How you doing today, Brent?
I am gloriously wonderful and absolutely marvelous. How's that?
Oh, that's wonderful. I like that. I always say it's good to have a greeting that really gives a positive effect. I always tell people I'm doing marvelously well and improving. And if I told you any more, you'd think I was bragging.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, let me do this. Let me share with the audience who and what you're about, and then let's get this party started. Is that okay with you?
Let's do it.
All righty. I want to share with you, and it is true, that Barrett is a dynamic speaker. He's an author and a coach. He is known, known for his kick in the rear approach. I like that because, you know what? I give you permission to kick me where I need to be kicked. How about that, okay? So tell you right now, you got permission. Well, I tell you, he's got that kind of approach to coaching. Barrett leads people into into an environment where action, and that's a powerful thing. Action is expected, and I love it. Excuses are prohibited. And that's really important because we have action and we have results. And a lot of times I think people stay in the activity zone thinking that they're doing something. Would you agree,
right.
Eric?
That's called busy work.
It's called, thank you. Let me share a little bit more and then we're going to get underway. Barrett teaches that productivity and purpose, so productivity plus oh boy, let me try that one again. Productivity plus purpose equals profits. You know, and this approach is actually a leadership approach, and by having this kind of leadership approach, has prompted him to write a book called Why Didn't You Get It Done, which has been read internationally. With over 20 years of experience in business as a leader, a teacher, and of course a teammate, I want to say that Barrett Matthews felt a need to bring it all together, and he founded a company called E2E Systems. The company is designed to take employees to entrepreneurs. Oh my goodness, and I love that. His innovative techniques and tools and resources utilized in the E2E Systems Boss Business Owner Success System coaching program provides those who have drive to succeed as business owners. And I got to tell you, the list, I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the site because the what he has done is awesome. And in fact, it's kind of interesting because one of the speeches, Barrett, that I'm going to give in the near future is your job isn't going to get you there. And it's not that I disregard jobs, because I'll tell you what, as far as I'm concerned, if you have a job, that's your #1 client. They pay you a certain amount of money for a certain amount of hours, so they've leveraged you. However, is that going to actually get you there? If your goal is to have wealth and to be wealthy, then you're going to need to add a couple of other pieces to that puzzle. You know, a couple of cost centers to get there, because a job is not going to do it for you.
And Brent, just so you know, I co-authored another book called "Congratulations, You Just Lost Your Job." So I like what you were just saying.
Wow. Okay. I'll tell you what. That is very, very cool. Do appreciate that. Do appreciate that. Well, again, welcome to Wealth Warriors. I am so excited. You are the very first one on our broadcast as far as us having the broadcast itself. We did have Chris on last week. She was awesome. People got a lot out of it. But what we're talking about today is about our money, and is our money working for us? Or I would say, one, is our money working for us? But I'll also go to the next level and say, is our money going to work for us in 2015? How can we make that happen? And you, as a productivity coach, as a leader, talk to us about that. What is just in an overview in the macro, and then let's get micro. Tell us how do we make that work? What do we do to make action happen?
Well, the first thing we have to do is actually identify the fact that we're not taking action. And kind of like what you said earlier is that people tend to do things, activity, and they think that it's actually being productive. And you're sitting in your office straightening up your paper clips. That's not really getting things done. If you're not doing anything to generate that income, it's not really considered work, and it's definitely not productivity. So you have to do something that's going to bring that money to you. And the thing is, and you know this from your experience, you know, doing things like that, it attracts money. It attracts money to you. So if you're doing things that are counterproductive, if you're worried about who's going to be on the Atlanta Housewives right now, or if you're sitting there trying to see, you know, who's going to get traded in this next sports deal, you're not really doing anything to help your bottom line. You're looking at people who already have their bottom line straight, and they're not concerned about it.
Oh my goodness, yes. Oh, please continue on. I just totally agree with you on that. They're making money. In fact, if anything, they've gotten you to watch, and because you're watching.
Exactly. They've already accomplished their goal because to get you to watch them and pay attention to them. And what are you doing? So, I mean, that's the first thing you need to do. You need to identify that you're not doing anything productive. Once you've identified the problem, then you can get towards solving the problem and getting into what's going to help you get it in those areas, and what's going to help you to get it around the right people, to get reading the right things, watching the right things, listening to the right things that are going to make you more productive in your life.
You know, talk to me about identifying a problem. How does someone identify their problem?
Well, I mean, and you know this just as well as I do, Brent. Sometimes you need a coach. Sometimes you need a coach just to. I mean, that's the thing. People like let's take athletes for instance. They go to coaches to help them find out what it is that's holding them back, and to help improve that situation. Once they can find that problem out, then they can go there. A lot of times people don't want to go to coaches because they don't want to. Well, let's keep it plain. They don't want to spend money. And
You know what? Excuse me. I'm sorry.
go ahead, take your time. It's your show, honey.
I was literally just getting ready to go there and say, you know what? Clearly, that is one of the problems, is that we think that, oh my goodness, it's going to cost me a mild fortune to be able to do that. And when we do, guess what happens?
Right.
We're sitting up there and we're saying, I can't afford that. That's going to cost me this. That's going to cost me that. I can't afford that. And what happens at the end of the day?
Right, and it was his thing. You can't afford not to. You can't afford not to, because look at what it's going to cost you. I mean, here's the thing. If you don't do it, you end up right where you are right now. So you're really not making any progress. You're like that little hamster on the treadmill, on a little thing going round and round and round, because you're not doing anything but just going in circles. You're spinning your wheels. But the thing is, if you have to spend money. Now, keep in mind, you have to spend money on coaching that is going to be productive for you. You don't just want to give money out to anybody, but you have to spend money in an area that you know that you need improvement in. And the problem is, a lot of us don't want to spend the money on coaching, and you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in yourself not only in coaching, but in books and CDs and DVDs and going to events. You have to invest in yourself if you want to improve yourself. Because keep in mind, you didn't get this way overnight. So
true that.
Yeah, so it's going to take some time and take some work and take some effort. And you can't do it by yourself, because the bottom line is, by yourself got you where you are. So you're going to need someone to help get you out of that, who knows how to maneuver around that and get you out of that. You have to be coachable. That's
okay. Well, let me ask you something. Oh, no, please, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Go. I'm done.
Going back just for a moment to the problem itself, if I'm talking, how would I identify what the problem is so that I can resolve it? Because I know you have some moving parts to this. So the first thing we've talked about is we have to identify. Most people say, "Oh, come on, Brent, that is, Barrett, that is so simple. Of course, I know I need to identify the problem." How do we get folks to see the problem quickly? And then you said, now there is coaching. Are there books that I can read? Let's say I'm saying, you know what, I can't afford a coach at $150, $300 an hour. What are my alternatives? So hit me up with the problem, then hit me up with the coach versus the book, and then let's talk about the next pieces that get us to the place that you said, where you said productivity plus purpose equals profits.
Well, one of the things, as far as identifying the problem, you need to look at those who are successful, and whatever it is that you're trying to do, look at those people who are successful. If you get a chance, try to talk to those people. Some of those people are not unattainable. They're very, very approachable. You can talk to those people, find out what it is that they are doing, and you can easily see what you're not doing. And it's very simple. If you find out what the winners are doing, you find out what you're not doing, then you've identified what your weaknesses are versus their strengths, and you know what you need to do. Now, some of you out there may be thinking, well, I don't have anybody that's doing what I'm doing. I don't have any competition. That's the biggest mistake you can make, by thinking that no one out there is like you. There's nobody who is totally unique in this world these days. There's always somebody doing something similar or better than what you're doing. You need to identify who they are, find out what it is that they're doing, then you can find out what you're not doing. That's the easiest way to find out what the problem is. Once you find out what the problem is,
what you're saying is you have an opportunity to mirror somebody.
Exactly. Okay. And the thing is, you don't necessarily have to mirror them, but you can find out what it is. Because see, you need to find out what it is that they're doing, and you may have something in your plan that's even better. You can improve upon what they're doing. You don't have to mirror them, but you need to find out what it is that's bringing them the results that you want. because they're doing something that you're not doing. And you need to find out what it is that's bringing in the results that you want. And once you identify that, you can mirror that and you can improve upon it too. But first you have to identify it and then go from that point and implement it into what you're doing. And see, this is also, once again, we're going back to that coaching part, because a lot of people don't know how to implement it. That's where a coach comes in, showing you how to implement whatever it is that they're doing into what you're doing. But let me backtrack a little bit on that, because first, before you even do that, you need to identify what your goals are. If you don't know what your goals are, then you really don't even know who to look for. You need to find out what your goals are, then go find someone who is doing what you're doing to get you to the goal that you want to reach. And as far as the second part of your question, you asked about coaching versus books and so on. First of all coaches don't cost a lot of money. And I think everyone needs to get that out of their mind. All coaching does not cost a lot of money, because if you put that in your mind, you won't even go look for a coach, because you've already said that I can't afford to do it in your mind. There are coaches out there that won't charge you a whole lot of money, and it may not be initially. The price may go up later on, but you can get a lot of coaching. Some coaches out there offer stuff for free because they want to get you in, and you'd be surprised at the knowledge that you can gain initially. Now keep in mind, once again, it goes back to you again. You have to implement it. Whatever they're telling you, you have to implement it. If you don't implement it, nothing's going to come of it. Because if you implement it, then you'll start seeing production in whatever it is you're doing. Once you see that production, you can afford to go up on what you're paying a coach. But if you don't implement what they're telling you, it's not going to happen. Now, in regards to books, there are so many books out there. My book, Why Didn't You Get It Done? The subtitle of the book is A Guide to Helping You Get Off Your Assets. So the thing is to make sure that you get things. Your guest last week, Chris Bridges, she loves that subtitle. But there are a lot of books out there. And one of the books I always recommend to people is a book by a guy named Shad Helmstetter. It's called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. Because the biggest problem that most people have is between their ears. You need to stop saying negative things to yourself that are going to prevent you from reaching your goals and dreams. And if you stop that and change the way you speak, change the way you talk, change the way you think, you can actually see yourself catapulting into a higher stratosphere just by that alone. So you need to change the way you think. Of course, one of the greatest books, Think and Grow Rich, great book right there. You just need to just fill your library. Someone told me once, the wealthiest people in the world are not based on how much money they have, but who has the largest library.
True that. Well, you know what? You can have the largest library, but if you're not reading the books,
what?
I will tell you, I've had a large. I will tell you, sir, I have had the large library, and in fact, I have noticed I've bought the same book a couple of times.
Oh my God, really?
Yes, I have. In fact, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Yeah.
Not only did I buy the book, I get home, I go, wait a second, I had this book already.
Oh my goodness,
so
that's funny.
Book, and I met with my mentor. It's kind of interesting. People think that, oh, you've reached a certain place in life, you don't need a mentor, you don't need a coach. Well, let's get real. First and foremost, even folks like Tiger Woods.
Yes, good point.
So, there is a need for.
He paid a lot more money than we would.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So I have to tell you, my mentor said to me, she said, listen, you know what? If you haven't made your way through that book, let me introduce you to Audible books. Why don't you listen to the book?
Yes.
So that you get it done. And so yesterday, in fact, last night, I took the book back and got the Audible. And I'll tell you, I'm amazed at how well I'm reading that book right now.
Right, isn't it something? And look, I got one in my car right now. It's the best type of driving.
Yes, it is. I remember that, what was his name? Zig Ziglar used to say Auto University, Car University. Well, Barry, you've talked about identifying the problem. And I'll tell you one thing, I actually personally use a tracker sheet for the business that I'm in. I use a tracker sheet, and if it is not happening on anything on that list, if I'm not working within that list during the hours that I committed myself to, the hours that I blocked off, then everything, all the way around it, I call that activity. That's not action. It does not get to results, does not lead to profit. So talk to us about productivity and productivity plus purpose equals profits. Give us a back view on that, and then tell us what that all means.
Well, see, the thing is, it's kind of like if you don't know where you're going and why you're doing it, you're going nowhere. I mean, it's that simple. So when you're actually producing something with a purpose in mind, I use an example. If you have a family, you have kids. You have to go to work to make money to supply the food, clothing, and shelter for those kids. Well, that means you're producing something with a purpose. It's hard for you not to say, I'm not going to do anything for my children. I can't see, I don't know too many good parents that would go out there and not want to produce for their children. I don't care if you're working a 9-to-5 job, you're still producing for those children are your purpose. And if you don't have a purpose in mind, sometimes you can go out there, you can even produce. But if you're not doing it with a purpose, that money can dissipate really quickly. And so you have to have a purpose in mind to go out there and produce. And here's the thing. If you have a stronger purpose, meaning if you put your butt on the line, see, here's the thing about kids, and I use this example actually in my book. If you tell a child, let mommy and daddy really work hard this month or the next 2 or 3 months, and I promise you, when we're done, we're going to take you to Disney World. That kid will not let you forget that.
That is true. That is true.
That is true, right, because kids don't forget those promises. They will stay on you every day about whether you got some work done to make sure they go to Disney World. But here's the thing. Most people are afraid to put their butt on the line when it comes to their kids because they know in the back of their minds they are not willing to put in that type of work to make sure it gets done. So I challenge everyone watching, put your butt on the line. Make a promise to someone that you will do something and when you're done, they will get a reward to make sure that they don't forget. And if you have a kid, do it with your kid. That will make you produce. It will cause you to produce, and you definitely have a purpose now. And you will bring in profits, I guarantee you. You will bring in profits because of the work that you put in. And here's the thing, even if you fell a little short of that goal, you'll definitely see a change in how you work. You'll see a change in how you think. You'll see a change in your income just because you put your butt on the line. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself and step out of your comfort zone. You have to make yourself uncomfortable because I'm going to tell you this. One of the models I live by is that success and comfort do not mix. You cannot be successful in life just staying comfortable. You can't. You can't do it. No one in the history of man has become successful just being comfortable their entire life. It just doesn't happen.
Wow. So let's say that again. It was success plus
success and comfort do not mix. And also, success and convenience don't mix either.
Success and convenience. Okay, I got that one. Wow, that is, you know what, although it sounds like a very simple statement, it really is deep because what I hear you saying is we've got to be willing to stretch, and a lot of us don't want to stretch.
That's true, because
now,
it's not comfortable.
Is it that we don't know how to stretch or we just don't want to stretch?
We don't want to stretch because it requires pain. See, but the thing is, once you stretch, you'll find out that you can see all of the benefits that come from that. And I'll use the example. Now, of course, I've never done this before, but you think about a woman giving birth. I mean, that requires a lot of stretching and a lot of pain. But what happens afterwards? A lot of joy. A lot of joy comes out of that. But no one says, oh, I want to go through the pain of childbirth. No, I haven't met a woman yet that has said, oh, I love that pain of childbirth. But the thing is, once you go through it, there's a joy that is unmatched. So the thing is, in your life, in your business, and whatever you're doing, you're going to have to stretch yourself. Once you stretch yourself, you'll find out that, you know what, there are a lot more other things I can do because I've stretched yourself. See, once you go through it, you'll be surprised at what you feel you can go through after that. But you haven't found out your limits yet. Believe
Okay.
me, we are very. I mean, gosh, we are so powerful. God has put so much into us that we haven't even tapped yet. But we're afraid
Agreed,
to go
agreed,
get it.
agreed.
What's that?
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say, you know what, for our watching and our listening audience, you know, if you hear something that resonates with you, I want you to hit us up and hashtag, and we want to hear something. We want to hear, is it a nugget? Then give us wealth nugget. But hashtag and let us know, is something here that we're talking about resonating with you? Are you grabbing something? Because, you know, I'll tell you, Barrett, as I'm listening, what's
Mm-hmm.
happening is I'm thinking, these are very simple. For most of us, say this is. Come on, Brent. Seriously, you said that this was going to be a monumental change.
Hmm.
That is my money working for me. I don't see how this is making my money work for me because it's so simple. So, Barrett, talk to us about that simplicity and how and what we should be thinking about when we talk about this.
Well, see, and it's funny you said that because it is simple. The thing is that what's happening between our ears is what we've
Mhm.
complicated things. It's
Okay.
the money part is simple. The
Okay.
money part.
How is no no? Oh, come on. Okay, now that was huge. How is the money part simple? Talk to me.
See, one of my mentors, Myron Golden. Myron
Okay.
talks about how money is not a tangible material thing. We see money. Money is actually spiritual because money. If I hold up a dollar bill right now, that dollar bill is just a sheet of paper, just a piece of paper. If I held up a penny right now, it's just a piece of copper. Now, see, here's the thing: a piece of paper is not worth more than a piece of copper. Copper is more valuable. Would you agree?
I agree.
So, but we put more value in the piece of paper, in the dollar. So it's not the physical part of it that actually has the value, because we already know that the copper is more valuable than the paper. But we've put a spiritual value on that piece of paper, making it worth more to us. We value it more. So the thing is, we have actually made that more valuable in our mind and in our hearts. We've made that money more valuable. The money can do nothing. The money can do nothing. It's what we give it the power to do. So the thing is, it's in our minds where we have made the money more valuable. I may be getting too deep for some people, but the thing is, the money is only valuable in our mind. It can do nothing without us. So you have to unclog what's in your mind to understand that money is just an object. You actually can make it valuable. But the thing is, you're going to have to put some work behind it. The work is something you have to do. You have to put in the work to make more of that and get more of that coming to you, because money attracts money. If you get around people who have money and you're sitting there wondering, God, why are they always getting things? Why do they always have this? Why do they always have that? It's because they have unclogged what's in their mind. They see money as
You know, you sound rather metaphysical in matter of speaking. I mean, it sounds like I'm trying to think of the books that I went through the cycle of reading a number of books
Mhm.
that dealt with energy and
And
drawing
they
to us.
weren't on audio, right?
No, no, I actually did read those. I
Right?
actually
That's
did
okay.
read those. Took me a while, but I got through them. And
Okay.
and so as I'm thinking about this, I can hear folks in the audience going, "Okay, wait a minute. You know, this is getting into the metaphysics. This is getting into the energy. Come on." Again, I'm going back to how do I work? How do I make my money work for me? How do I get that energy and that flow going? Talk to us.
Well, here's the thing. Let me step back a little bit because I don't want to get too deep for people. If you want
Okay.
to get your money to work for you have to first put in the work for your money. Once you put in the work for your money, getting your money to work for you need to find people who can put money into different avenues for you. Find yourself a financial planner. Make sure you have a great CPA. You talked last week with Chris Bridges, who is my co-host on Lunch and Learn with Chris and Barrett.
Yes.
Chris is, is actually dealing with credit. You have to make sure that you have all of those things in place. But you have to change your habits. If you don't change your habits, keep in mind, the reason you are actually even listening to this right now is because you know that you have some flaws in dealing with money. If you can't admit that to yourself first, you're not going to change it. I mean, it's not going to change if you admit that to yourself first. If you can admit that to yourself, then you can start making those changes, but you have to change your habits. You have to stop spending money on things that you don't need. You have to start investing your money. You have to start putting your money aside. And another great book that I read, I was mentioning Myron Gold, and he wrote a book called From the Trash Man to the Cash Man.
Oh, yes.
And
oh,
he
yes.
talks
Trash
about
man to cash man.
right. He talks about putting your money, taking your money and separating it in different areas every pay period, and separating in different areas. But the thing is, a lot of people really don't grasp the concept of paying yourself first. We want to pay our expenses and pay our bills first, and then we pay ourselves last. And we're always saying we're broke. Well, guess why? You paid everybody else first. That's why you haven't paid yourself any money. Pay yourself
Question.
first.
You brought out something. When you say pay yourself first, what does that mean? Does that mean here I've got $100 and I'm going to give myself, I said I'm going to give myself 10% or 20%, and I take that 10% or 20% out and I put it, now let's not do $100. Come on, let's be realistic. Let's say it's $5,000. So I take 500 to 1,000 out of that and I set that aside. That's paying myself first, and then the rest gets taken for the things that I need to get, from the savings to the this to the this. What am I doing with the
different things
I set aside?
You're putting money aside for your fun money. You know, you're putting aside money for those rainy day funds. You're putting aside money for long-term savings. You're putting aside money for your bills. You're putting aside money for your insurances and so forth. You have to separate the money. You can't just say, okay, here's my money in my account, and bam, I'm just gonna. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to open up different accounts for those different things.
I agree with you on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, if you put that money in those different accounts, then you know what that money is for. But the thing is, you have to get into the habit of change. Well, you have to get into the habit of changing your habits. You have to make sure that you can't do the same things you've been doing. I mean, you've heard the definition of insanity. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, you can't keep doing that. And you have to admit, I mean, look, it's a new year. You know, a lot of people make resolutions. Problem is, most people are done with their resolutions by the middle of February. So you have to change those things for the entire year. So what do you have to do? You have to write down a plan. You have to make sure that you have something in place, a system in place that you can work with on a daily basis. You have to make sure that you have something, and this is the big one, that's going to hold you accountable, or something or someone. That's what I do with my coaching with people. We have accountability systems. We have benchmarks. You have to make sure that you reach certain benchmarks. You have to have stakes. Now, that's the big one. You have to have stakes. What's going to happen if you don't do it? Are you willing to put your butt on the line again? You hear me say that again. What's going to happen if you don't do it? See, we always know, oh, yes, if I reach this goal, if this happens for me, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that. Well, what's going to happen if you don't? Are you willing to have consequences if you don't reach those goals, if you don't reach that benchmark? If you're not willing to do that, there's no need in doing it, because a lot of times we don't hit the mark that we set, but we may come close. But coming close isn't good enough sometimes. You know, you talked about Tiger Woods a minute ago. Tiger Woods can come close to winning a lot of championships, and he has. But coming close isn't what he wanted. So what's the consequence? In his case, it's losing millions of dollars. But what's going to be the consequence in your case if you don't reach your goals? So you have to make sure that you set goals for yourself. You have to write them down. You have to have a system in place to where you can monitor it every day, and you have to have consequences and rewards for yourself. But you have to make sure you have consequences if you don't. Because we always set the rewards in place, but we don't have the consequences. So you need to make sure that you are doing the things necessary to reach those goals, and make sure that you stay away from having to pay off those consequences as well.
Okay, so as I'm sitting here thinking, Barrett, some that I would think they we would want to get out of this is one, identifying the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I get curious as to whether people realize what their problem is. But what I did hear you say that was really poignant is I heard you say um, it's activity, it's the busy work, which I like to call activity versus action. So a lot of us are not in the action mode, we're in the
That's
activity
true.
mode.
That's
Um,
true.
so that's one. Secondly, we've got a couple of ways that we can uh, start to reform the conversation or reform what we're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
one of those you said was to mirror other people, and that's to
Mm-hmm.
find people and ask the question. So if somebody wanted to talk to a Barrett Matthews and
Mm-hmm.
they came into some sort of event,
Mm-hmm.
um, give me a little bit. What would they say to you that would cause you to engage in a short conversation with them?
Well, you struck the ego. That's the main thing. You struck the ego. If someone is doing something, they have something you want, you have to struck the ego. You know, hey, look, you would say, hey, Barrett, I've been watching you for a while. I love what you do. I would like to learn more about what you do because I'd like to do something similar someday to what you're doing. Is it okay if I sit down and maybe buy you lunch or something, buy you a cup of coffee one day, just to sit down, just to pick your brain a little bit? I don't need a lot of time. I just want to talk to you because I just think what you're doing is great.
Okay, I like that. I like that a great deal. So now we've engaged in a conversation. We figured out what Barrett does because Barrett is
Hmm.
successful. Barrett is bringing in the bucks into his household. So now we're going to mirror that. Now, when we
Hmm.
mirror that, should that cause us to start to see an increase in our profit, or we have
No,
work to do
no,
after
no,
that?
no. That doesn't happen right away. When you mirror that, first thing it's going to do is identify, like I said, it's going to identify what you're not doing right. So you need to
Okay.
know what you're not doing. Like I said, you at that point you need to start working on you. Meaning you have to work on your business, work on what you're doing. One thing that's where the coaching comes in as well. You need to find someone who can help you to implement those things because if you don't know how to implement them, it's still you're not getting where you just have a bunch. It's kind of like having those books and not reading them. So you have to make sure that you can implement it. You know what to do with it. Once you know what to do with it and you put the
Can I
work
break?
in.
Could I break you for just one moment and ask you something? Okay, let's say right now we're at the primary stage. Look at somebody like a Tiger
Hmm.
Woods or something of that coaching to get him to that level. In other words, we'll have some folks that are on here that today that say, "Hey, Brent, come on, real basic." But tell me, how does this work for the person? I mean, I'm sure you work with somebody like me. You work with somebody
Hmm.
that is making significant money. It goes up, it goes up, it
Hmm.
goes up. Does the conversation or does the work change?
No, it doesn't change because when you mentioned Tiger Woods again. Tiger Woods is a well, he's almost, he is a billionaire now. He actually is a billionaire. Tiger Woods still has to do the same thing to get himself. It actually, sometimes it's even harder as he gets older, but that's because his work is more physical. But the thing is, it doesn't change that you still have to have a regimen and have a schedule and have a plan. And guess what he's doing? He's looking at other people too to see what they're doing different than what he's doing. That's the thing. In order for you to get some type of competitive advantage, you have to recognize your competition. You have to recognize
Mm.
that there are other people out there that are doing things. I look at someone like a Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant is an aging veteran. Well, what Kobe Bryant has done now, I mean, he is. He's a great.
What did you call him again? He's a what?
He's an aging veteran. He's a veteran. He's been in the league 19 years now, but he's getting older, and he recognizes that. So what he has done, he's found out what his competitors are doing, and he has changed his game to make it so that he can still be competitive with them. You have to, in the business world, even I don't care how long you've been in business, you have to recognize what's going on around you and be ready to change things to make yourself competitive. A prime example is Blockbuster Video. Remember them?
Vaguely, vaguely.
Exactly. Exactly. Blockbuster didn't change when the market was changing. Their competitors, Netflix and everyone else was coming out, and Blockbuster didn't change to keep up with their competitors, and now you don't even remember them. They're distant memory. You have to be willing to change yourself and keep up with your competition, but first you have to understand that you do have competition out there. You do have other people who are doing what you're doing something similar to what you're doing something better than what you're doing. You have to
Barrett, let
recognize.
me ask you a question. In the
Mhm.
workplace, would you say the same thing about the workplace, that people have competition in their workplace?
Oh, well, yeah, if you don't think that's the case, why do people get fired all the time? Because people, I mean, that's obvious. That's why people are always scared about losing their job because they know that someone else is coming. I mean, there are people graduating college every year ready to take your job. So
True that. True
there's
that.
always competition. There's always someone willing to take less money to do what you do. So you have to stay on top of your game. Once again, I'm one of those people that I personally don't work in the corporate world. Haven't done it for a number of years, which is why my company, E2E Systems, it came about because employed an entrepreneur. But the thing is, I mean, I know in that workplace because I've done it. It's very competitive. That's what probably prompted me to get out of it. But it's very competitive, and you have to find a way to maneuver and sometimes do the old kissing up game in there. I didn't like that. That's why I couldn't do it. But some people can do it and do it well. And
Okay.
but the thing is, there's a lot of I think there's probably more competition there than in the entrepreneurial world because you actually have to get someone to like you, otherwise they will fire you.
Ooh, that is cruel. Ooh.
It
Well, I tell
is,
you,
but I didn't make the rules.
it definitely is. It definitely is. You know, it's kind of interesting that you say that because you are absolutely correct. I had a conversation with a dear friend of mine in his mid-40s, and he had only been at the job a couple of months. You know, nowadays you could have that 6 months before you actually become a permanent employee. And
Right,
so
right.
I'm talking to him, and he is saying to me, well, I wasn't happy with what was going on with my boss or something of that nature. So he says, I went to my boss and said, you're not paying me enough. And I said to him, you know what? You are not going to make it through the probationary period because that boss is thinking to himself, I can replace you with 220 something
Ain't that the truth?
and flip that, and I'm going to at least get one of them that's going to stay here. And it's
Yep.
not to scare anybody, but it's to say we need to have, the older we get, the more that we need to have plans in place, and we need to have catch basins so
And
that we continue to be profitable.
and the thing is, and it goes back to what we were saying about entrepreneurship versus the employee. If you don't feel you're getting paid enough, create a way that you can make that money. Be an entrepreneur. Create that. 'Cause, what was it? George Fraser said, if you're making $7 an hour, you're doing that because you deserve $7 an hour.
Ooh, that hurts. Ouch!
Yeah, you deserve $7 an hour. That's why you're making $7 an hour. So you need to put yourself. If you feel you deserve more, create a position for yourself where you can do that. You see, most people are not self-employed, and this is going to hurt too, because they know this that they'll make lousy employees for themselves.
Ooh, that's rough. That's a rough statement. Holy smokes! Well, I tell you what, rough but true. Now,
Mhm.
that I won't say that's necessarily a wealth nugget, but that certainly is a piece of information. Let me kind of recap because we've got about 11 minutes left,
Mhm.
and I want to recap a couple of things that Barrett has shared with us. And again, Barrett Matthews is a coach. He is a productivity and accountability coach, and I'm going to let him actually share some of the offers with you that he has as we begin to bring our wealth session, if you will,
Mhm.
to a close. But a couple of things. First of all, he shared with us about identifying what the problem is. And more often than not, we've been caught up in the busy zone. Instead of being action oriented and results oriented, we're in the, again, busy activity zone. He talked
Mhm.
about mirroring, the fact that we want to mirror the successful people, and they're not difficult to reach. I love it. He says a lunch. You know, we can take a Barrett out to lunch and at least have a conversation. And please when we say take him out to lunch, that means
Right.
you pay for the lunch.
And shut up.
And be quiet and listen. Okay. And if you don't, there's a video where the boy says, Matthew says, "Listen to me."
Right. I love that one.
You love that one? That would be great.
Someone once told me, Brent, if you want to learn to be a millionaire, take a millionaire to lunch and shut up.
Perfect. Well said. Barrett also talked about coaching and the fact that in some instances we cannot afford not to have a coach. Once we've gotten as far as we realize we've gotten and we're not making the trajectory, then it may need an intervention. And a coach gives you the play. Am I right about that, Barrett?
Right.
Coach gives the play?
That's right.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about in this. It does lead to profit. Like you said, you have productivity, plus your purpose will lead you to the profit. And what I want to do is twofold. I want Barrett to share some of the things that he's got going on for our listening audience. And then I want to share with you what you can expect coming forward as we go forward and build on wealth. We did credit last week. We are talking about productivity this week. Barrett, what do you have for our listening audience? What are you offering them? And I'm excited, by the way, about what you've put together.
Well, I'm excited too. One of the things that I always talk about, and like I said, in my book, Why Didn't You Get It Done? It's basically about what things make us procrastinate on getting our goals done. So what I'm talking about is what's stopping you from getting your things done. And what we do, we put together what's called an E2E system success blueprint to help you in getting things done. That's my mantra, is get it done. So you can type in hashtag get it done as well. So what do you get with the E2E system success blueprint? Well, you're going to get a success checkup. What we're going to do is check up where you are right now and find out what's going on with you, assess your business, assess your goal. If you're an employee looking to become an entrepreneur, we help you with that in a success blueprint. Now, we do what we call a productivity probe, meaning that we're going to go inside and find out where you're most productive, when you're most productive, what time of day, what day of the week. What do you do that's most productive for you? We're also going to give you an accountability assessment to find out how accountable you actually are. Are you really one of those people that, says you can be accountable but really are, or says you can be accountable that really aren't accountable? We're also going to give you an in-depth checkup of your goals. A lot of people say, yeah, I have goals, and some of you haven't even written them down, so to me they really aren't goals. We're going to give you an in-depth checkup of your goals. This all comes in the Success Blueprint. You're also going to get an assessment and evaluation of your objectives. You have to understand goals and objectives are two different things. So we need to make sure what your objectives are, and we're going to give you an evaluation of that. We're also going to study what your current activity is. You see, you have to understand, if you're doing things, we talked about this earlier, if you're sitting there shuffling your paper clips, putting those in order, your current activity is not going to yield you the results that you want. We're going to give you a view of the results of your activity and seeing what they're doing, what your activities are doing for you. Are they giving you any results at all? Well, we're going to find that out for you. We're also going to give you a proposal for future activity, meaning that we're going to take what you're doing right now, and we're going to show you what we recommend that you do for the future to change the things that you're doing. Now, which means you're going to get new objectives, and they're going to have benchmarks, which means that now you're going to have to actually be accountable. How about that? So we're going to make sure you have benchmarks so that when you get to that point, you have a reward or consequences. You're going to get check-in coaching. I mean, we're going to be checking in with you. You check in with us. And you're going to get acknowledgement of your success. We will give you that. Now, you're asking, will this work? Yeah, it will work as long as you work. I always tell people about business. I've had people talk about different businesses that they've had. Well, it didn't work for me. Well, here's something, newsflash. No business works for anybody. You actually have to work the business. That's the key to business. You actually have to do the work. Now, there's an easy way, and there's a hard way. There's a hard way. The hard way is you can stay where you are right now and keep doing what you're doing. The easy way is you can let us help you with our E2E Success Blueprint. Now, what does that run you? I know that's the question in your mind. How much does that cost? Well, this is a $1,297 value, $1,297 value for the E2E Success Blueprint. You heard all the things I'm offering. You can see that that value is definitely there. But
absolutely. And wait a minute, before you even say it, folks, I want you to know we have negotiated something very powerful for you.
Yes,
so listen up. Okay, take it on,
yes,
sir.
We have. Brent has twisted my arm. I love her though, so that's this. I love her, and I love all the Wealth Warriors there. So what we're actually going to do, you're going to get the E2E Success Blueprint for $597. We're taking $700 off. But hold on. There's a fast action bonus. For those people that act today, you can actually get the E2E System Success Blueprint for only $297. $1,000. Yes, $1,000. My arm is still hurting, Brent, from you twisting it.
That's right. Wait a minute. Let me
yeah.
Like that. I want you to know I twisted it.
Now here's the thing. For the first 5 people, I'm going to actually give you a 10-minute one-on-one coaching session with me on the phone where you get to talk to me for 10 minutes to find out what it is that we can identify is going on with you. You're also going to get a free copy of my book, Why Didn't You Get It Done? You can get that in either the hard copy or the audio. You can get either one. And here's the kicker. You're going to get 50% off a ticket to my World Success Summit. It's coming later this year. It's actually going to be a cruise with speakers on there with the likes of Shea Brown and Trevor Otts and some of the other great speakers that you know of. Jasmine O'Day is going to be on this. It's going to be a fantastic cruise. We're going to be inviting people. We're going to be announcing it very soon, but you're going to get 50% off your ticket for the cruise. So that is what I am offering for the Success Blueprint. Now, what you need to do, you need to text the word Blueprint to 929-244-4323. That's 929-244-4323, and I'm also going to give you a little free gift just for doing that as well. And you can reach me at e2esystems.com. That's the letter E, the number 2, the letter E, systems.com. Brent?
Oh, I appreciate it, Barrett. Thank you so very much for being with us. This was an exciting get start because, you know, the month of January is about, you know, if you didn't do it back in October, November, December, here it is. We're in 2015. It is time to take the action and to give your coach permission to, shall we say, catapult you?
To put the foot up your butt.
Okay, I was trying to be really gracious about that. You know, I was like going this way. I got you very much. Well, I'll tell you what, Barrett, thank you. I know that you have to go, so I'm going to say again, appreciate you being with us. Appreciate you making that offer for our Wealth Warriors. And if you would go ahead and just put it on our site, Wealth Warriors site, just put that information for us. We would appreciate that, but we're going to wave you bye-bye, and we're going to finish up with, you are so welcome, sir. You are so welcome, and I'm clapping for you. Thank you.
Your maiden voyage was fantastic. Everybody, she's doing great. Take action.
Oh, boy. Oh, and I'll tell you, I got one more thing. Will you come back and see us maybe later on in this quarter or in the next quarter?
You don't have to ask me that anytime.
Okay, sir. Thank you again. Appreciate you. Take care. And on to, I know you've got something else to do, and again, we appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. You too. We had, what an hour session we had with Barrett Matthews. And clearly we are going to call him a Wealth Warrior because he is part of the Wealth Warrior faculty that is going to move us forward. It is our goal, our mission, 100,000 people, a movement. That's what we're looking to have. A lot of things are going to be coming up. You'll see that in the Wealth Warriors site. We're going to tell you about the things that are happening coming forward this year, next month, the month after that. It is going to be an exciting 2015. On behalf of all of our Wealth Warriors, the faculty that we are bringing together, we want to thank you for being here with us, and I will see you next time. My name is Brent Harding, and I'm the host of Wealth Warriors. Go out there and hashtag Beast Mode 2015 all day long. Bye-bye now.